What does Todd Monken's raise mean to Georgia Bulldogs? Hint,
Ooh.
it means more good things.
It's good. It's
For
good for you
longer time.
and for me and for all of us.
For all of us. Plus, we talk that playoff life because some of the teams that we know and love and follow are still in that thing.
Okay.
Some are.
Well, we need some teams to lose ahead of us, and we need to get votes, and we need people to like us, and we need style points, and we need to.
Try again.
No. Sorry, that's not us.
No, we don't need that. We're talking college football playoff matchups as well as Todd Monken's raise here on Locked On Bulldogs coming up next.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? I am Daniel. That is Clint. Welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, your team every day. Happy to be back with you. Today's episode brought to you by... Who is it, Clint? I already forgot. I forgot in the pre-production meeting. It's BetOnline. It's our friends over at BetOnline. We are nothing if not professionals. Zach, please just ignore this recent part of the show that you've seen. Okay. We're back. It's Tuesday. Sir. Tuesday's a fun day, and so what we thought for the rest of the season is since Georgia is relevant to the college football playoff rankings, the rankings are going to come out tonight. Obviously, you probably will have already seen this or heard this on your favorite podcast listening app or on YouTube by then. And so what we thought we'd do is we give a little predictive, put on the robes and give a little prediction as to what we think the playoff rankings are going to look like. And then maybe do a little talking about who Georgia matches up the best against, who we don't want to see, those types of things. Before we get into that, I think we're finished talking about the Mississippi State game. We rolled over Mississippi State on the road. Yeah. The offensive line didn't look good, and it's okay to say that. So if you're soft and you get your feelings hurt easily because anyone says anything negative about your team, it's okay. It's okay.
Nick even doesn't have the in-ear hearing aid in. He can't understand you right now.
It's okay. It's okay that we didn't play perfect. It's okay that there were things to critique. But Clint and I were both very clear and still are very clear to go on the road in the SEC and to absolutely steamroll an opponent while not playing your best game is a pretty dang good thing for the Georgia Bulldogs. And so we're excited about that. We're excited to go on the road again next week, this Saturday.
Intimidating Kroger Field.
Steamroll someone else in the SEC. We're
going to make Will Levis go to the second round just by how we play him.
Honest to goodness, we'll talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day that we break down the Kentucky
Will Levis
game.
Is trash.
It's not just that I don't even think he has NFL measurables. Like, I don't know
nothing about him.
Nothing about him screams the NFL. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow if you want to hear that talk. We're going to get to Todd Monken and his raise, and so that's segment 3. But for right now, let's talk about these college football playoff rankings, Clint. They come out tonight, and there's one surefire move that we know is going to happen. Oregon, it has been fun. We have enjoyed this ride. Dan Lanning, you gave it a heck of an effort. But Oregon's out of the college football playoff picture. Don't know where they're going to end up ranked. I suspect they're going to be down around 10 or 9 or 11 or something like that.
They're not relevant any longer.
They're not relevant. They cannot, under any circumstances, make the college football playoff, period. So we're not going to be speaking about them in this segment. I do not expect Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan order to change, even though I will ask you, Clint, do you think TCU has a chance to jump to 3 or even 2 with the win over Texas tonight when the rankings are announced.
See, now this is what's stupid about these ranking and these committees. First of all, this committee is a joke. It's laughable.
It's ridiculous.
I mean,
Tennessee fans, we can agree on this, right? Like, this is one thing that Georgia and Tennessee fans can agree on. The committee is ridiculous.
And give explanation on why, right? And they'll say, well, style points and an offense that can keep up and yada, yada, yada. It doesn't matter. This is what you have to start getting in the mind of the committee, because here's what they know. We know that Ohio State and Michigan, one of those teams, will not be in a college football playoff. We know it's Michigan.
We do know that. We know that Michigan is. I mean, listen, they haven't played anybody, and I mean anybody all year.
Okay. All right.
TCU deserves to jump them.
And
period.
Here's the point I'm trying to make. Let's say there's a world in which the committee wants to go ahead and try to line up teams to play certain places, like Ohio State, a loss against Michigan. That if that were to happen, now all of a sudden you're talking about 2 versus 4 in that matchup, and the loser might flip flop, and the winner might go up to 3. And do you put TCU at 2 instead of 3 if the winner of that goes on? Like, all of these things is what they're discussing in the committee, is the matchup of 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3 in the playoff, and who's the best matchup against Georgia in that position. That's what they're talking through and thinking through. So I don't know, because I don't know what type of setup they want to make in the ranking, because it is a committee. I don't think there's a chance that TCU jumps them. I think the firmly entrenched 2 is going to be the Big Ten champion.
Yep.
And then the Pac-12 champion is going to be the 4th seed, is I think, or the ACC champ, depending on style points and yada, yada, all that junk.
Well, you're not mentioning Tennessee.
I'm not.
Oh, interesting.
Because a 1-loss ACC and a 1-loss Pac-12 champion will be in the playoff.
Yeah, so that's the thing. USC is going to jump up to 7. UCLA is going to jump up to 10. This is going to be a 7 versus 10 matchup this week. The winner of that game will be ranked ahead of Tennessee in the next college football playoff rankings next Tuesday. And they will not fall behind them unless they lose the game. Now, Oregon still has something to say about that, because they can come out and beat that team in the Pac-12 championship and spoil it. And the Pac-12 loves to just kill its own. They love.
It's on me.
That's right.
Chaos, Pac-12 after dark.
Clemson versus Tennessee, I think, is the most intriguing matchup of the college football playoff rankings. So that's the one I think you have to watch. I think North Carolina losing to Wake Forest over the weekend is terrible for Clemson. Terrible for Clemson. Clemson needed North Carolina to continue winning so that they could get a big win at the end of the year in the ACC title game. They are not going to get that opportunity right now, and so Clemson.
Daniel, I don't mean to. I bet this game.
Did North Carolina win?
Daniel, what are you talking about, man?
It was late at night. Listen, it was late at night when I finished this game.
Man. North Carolina,
they won the game?
Yeah, of course they did.
Okay. Clemson's getting in ahead of Tennessee. Clemson's getting in ahead of Tennessee. North Carolina won that game?
I bet that game. Come on.
I swear Wake Forest won that game.
Okay. Well, the non-announced
Lagavulin, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, please reach out. We can negotiate a deal. We can work something out. You understand? You and I.
No, Clemson, UNC has a shot at the playoff too, because that quarterback is playing out of their mind. They win ACC. Like, again, Tennessee, you can't get in. You lost your shot. You're one loss team against all the rest of them.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be TCU at 4. I think the Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, and then Georgia. That's going to be the order when it comes out. Oregon's
and who's going to whine the most? Who's gonna cry the most?
I think, is Alabama still the answer?
It could still be Alabama. It's Tennessee.
No, it's
Come
Tennessee.
on, it's Tennessee. All right, let's talk about what teams Georgia does and doesn't want to play, because that's a more interesting conversation to me. We'll get back into that right after this.
But first, I want to let you know about Simply Safe. Simply Safe is the best place for you to go right now to have all of your security needs for your home, the precious cargo that you have, the precious property, as well as the precious people in your life. Simply Safe is reliable. They have 24/7 customer care as well as monitoring options as well. And right now, you can get free monitoring SimplySafe.com/LockedOnCollege gets you all the things straight to your door. You build the system out and you get monitoring. Simply Safe, whatever you need to keep safe, they simply do it. It's right there in the name. Head over there right now. SimplySafe.com/LockedOnCollege.
So Tennessee, not going to get into the playoff.
No.
I just want to keep saying it. It sounds good coming out of my mouth. And so,
if the committee does do that, it is a compromised system. Tennessee, you shouldn't get in without a championship, a conference championship. Like it's never been done before. How about that?
Well, we got in without a conference championship last year.
Because we were in the championship game.
You're saying without going to the championship game.
That's what I'm saying, Daniel.
Like Alabama did in 2017.
There you go.
Alabama did get in without going to the conference championship game in 2017.
Compromised. I said compromised. This is what I'm telling you.
I'm not trying to argue for Tennessee fans, but don't make it easy for me here. If you're gonna,
I said compromised,
all right.
Daniel.
Georgia's not scared of Tennessee. No. Let's let the record show that.
Please, I beg you, let's play again.
Yes, please. What is your guy gonna do that he didn't already try to do last time?
And we have more players back off of injury.
Interesting. Okay, let's get it out of the way early. Georgia's not scared of any of these teams. That's ridiculous. Georgia may not win the national championship, but Georgia is the best team in college football. They are the best defense in college football. And you would have to really work hard to convince me that they're not the best offense in college football as well. And so that's a recipe for success. I would say this. The only offense I would consider as better than Georgia is Tennessee, not Ohio State.
No. Are you kidding me?
Georgia has the better offense than all these teams. Georgia has the better defense than all these teams. And so I'm going to say, Clint, I'm going to list out teams, okay? Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Southern Cal, Clemson, UCLA, and North Carolina. Okay?
Well, that's
7 teams.
That's a lot of list.
A lot of teams. All right? We're going to rank them quickly in this segment of I would be the most nervous to least nervous if Georgia played them. So we're going to start with most nervous, meaning this is the matchup we think is the least favorable to Georgia. So who do you have on that list as the team that would make you the most nervous on a neutral field going up against Georgia?
This is going to sound very bizarre because the teams that have given Georgia fits so far this year are not teams with explosive offenses.
No, exactly right. Exactly correct.
Explosive offense has not been. You want to talk about Missouri? Sure, let's talk about Missouri. You want to talk about just this last week, Mississippi State? Sure, we can talk about that. Defensive lines played really well in the games against us, and the defenses were stout. Honestly, the team that might give us fits the most is Michigan in this entire thing.
I didn't think that's where you were going to go.
I know. It might be Michigan because Michigan is playing good D. Jim Harbaugh. It's that style, right? They know they can't outgun you because J.J. McCarthy is not it. Okay? He's not it. So I think their game plan and Jim's game plan and the defense might give us fits. They would give me interest.
They are going to try to slow the game down.
Just milk that
and draw the game out. And that is the team that I can see. I don't disagree with that sentiment, and I think maybe people look at things the wrong way. I think the faster you try to go and the more you try to blitz Georgia on offense, the more you're just digging yourself into a hole.
No, it's bad.
It honestly, hold that thought until tomorrow when we talk about the Kentucky matchup, because who are you describing when you describe that team?
It's a lot of points in that spread.
I actually am going to go my most nervous because I agree with your logic. I disagree with your conclusion. Because I agree with your logic, I'm going to go most nervous, and this is wild to me, is TCU. I think TCU is the team that matches up maybe the best against Georgia. I mean, did you see what they did to that Texas offense? Like, they were non-existent in the game. Like, that TCU defense can really get after it now.
100%, Daniel. 100% they can. They don't play good football, sound football all the way through, but you give a little. They're a heater type team, right? If they get on a heater, it's gonna be wild. So I would actually, my second team that I put in there in TCU. My third team then becomes Ohio State at that point, because they're more accomplished, they've been there, they got better players. Like at the end of that, right?
Yeah.
So
Ohio State is 2 for me because of the talent. I think you cannot ignore talent. It's why nobody still wants to play Alabama, even though this Alabama team is not good. They're bad.
They got dudes, though.
But they got really good players, and so no one wants to play them right now, even though they're not good. So I go Ohio State second, and listen, I can't put Michigan third. I got to keep moving on down the list, Clint, before I get to Michigan. I'm gonna keep moving down the list, and I'm gonna tell you the third team that might make me the most nervous might be Chip Kelly and UCLA, Clint.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you this right now. If you haven't seen that quarterback running back combo at UCLA, y'all, it's electric.
They can do it. They could get after it.
Electric. And he has everybody talking about AR-15, and East Coast bias is a real thing for arm talent. Go look at dude at UCLA. Talk about arm talent and velocity. Yeah. He's got it more than AR
DTR.
does.
Yeah. They can really play. Yeah. This UCLA team struggled early in the year. They won by what? They won by 1 point against South Alabama early in the year. They had a loss that didn't look great against Oregon. They got absolutely housed by Oregon. But this UCLA team is better than USC. I expect them to beat USC this weekend.
Yes.
And I think that they, ahead of USC, could potentially give Georgia some fits. And so I have them third. And then I would probably put Michigan, Clemson tied in that 4th, 5th spot.
Well, the logic fits. All my reasons for Michigan are the same exact for Clemson. Defensive line, slowing the game down. It's the same thing. So
it's just that Michigan has a quarterback who might be able to do something at any point ever, and Clemson has.
Do you realize, Clemson fan? Do you realize you have a chance to be a good team if you change quarterback situations? Like, not a great team, and you could make the playoff and you could win the ACC, but Dabo won't do the thing that he's. I guess he made a.
You have a chance to be a good team if Dabo had hired an offensive coordinator who had ever had any experience doing that job anywhere ever.
That's it.
But instead, he hired a guy he likes.
Gotta keep in that family. Gotta keep in that family.
You know who else hired a guy he likes?
Say more.
The Iowa head coach Kurt Ferentz, when he hired his son to be the offensive coordinator. And right now, Dabo is operating under the same nepotism rules that Kurt Ferentz is. And so, they don't scare me. They're down at the bottom of the list, but I still got them.
The team that is the least scary is USC. Y'all, this team's a fraud. Man, this team's fraudulent.
That team is fraudulent. Now, they do have, I would put them ahead of North Carolina because of the same reason I put Ohio State ahead of Michigan. They have better players at USC than North Carolina has. And so I have those two last, but I do have USC ahead of North Carolina because they do have better players. Like the quarterback, Caleb Williams, is talented. The running back, Dyer, the guy from Oregon, is talented back.
Very much so.
The wide receivers, obviously, we know the guy from Pitt that comes over. They've got talented players. But the problem is that all those talented players are on the offensive side of the ball, coached by this offensive genius. I'm sorry, where have we seen this script before when this offensive genius brings in all these talented players to come play Georgia? Do you have any information on whether that's happened before?
I actually don't have. I have lots of case examples, Daniel.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they don't scare these teams. These teams don't scare me.
No, not at all. Not at all. I pray that USC wins the Pac-12, and I pray that UNC wins the ACC. Because bring it on down to Atlanta. Let's roll. Let's roll.
I mean, being that number 1 seed is a premium position.
Ooh, it's premium
because whoever that 4 seed is, and please, Lord, for the record, let it be Tennessee. Please, Lord, let it be Tennessee.
Every single moment,
please. But it won't be,
because it don't rain in the covered areas, Daniel. It don't rain inside the bed.
We just keep putting them on you. We just keep putting it on you, and you say thank you.
You say thank you. Hey, we're gonna come back after this, talk about Todd Monken's Rays, but Daniel's gonna let you know about BetOnline first.
Well, BetOnline. See, the thing about them is they're your online sportsbook expert. I already gave you a tease of locks coming up on Thursday. Every Thursday we do this locks episode. Clint leaves the podcast; he's gone. But I already teased that I think UCLA is going to beat USC on the field on this Saturday. And so why don't you just cruise on over to BetOnline? It's the only sportsbook that Clint and I trust. It's the place that we go, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. You go there, you place all of your wagers. They got futures, they got over-unders, they got spreads, parlays, money lines, prop bets, whatever you want. Go over to BetOnline, make those wagers, get your money in. It's easy to get your money out. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Clint.
Teasing that money line already. Teasing that.
We like that UCLA. Ooh, it feels good. The public's going to be coming in hard on Lincoln Riley and USC. You know that.
I beg you to go bet USC, please.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Todd Monken.
Okay,
Clint, because I mean, it's a lot. News happens over the course of the season, and we don't have time to talk about everything that happens, but. Around about a week or so ago, Todd Monken got himself a little bit of a bump in the salary department.
100,000,
fairly significant bump, significant to some,
yes, sir.
Significant to the Monken family, first of all.
Yeah.
Significant to everyone who he buys Christmas presents for. So that's a win. But also significant to you and I, Clint, sir. Because he now continues to be among the highest paid coordinators in all of college football.
Yep.
We believe on this podcast he is worth every penny of that.
We're getting a steal.
More. Yes, correct. And so this is good for Georgia. It's good for recruiting. It's good for continuity. I have 2 simple questions, Clint. The first one is this. Does this raise mean that Todd Monken will be the offensive coordinator of the University of Georgia next season?
Yes. Simple answer. Yes, it does.
That's great news. That is
fantastic news.
Here's great news for Georgia.
Todd Monken is not the dude. If Todd Monken, Kirby and Todd have a very, very, very simple relationship. Okay. Kirby says, "Hey, Todd, go make bread. Like, get in the kitchen, go make bread. I'm over here. I'm fine. I'm over here. You do your thing." And Todd Monken loves it because he's slicing and dicing everybody up. And he is loving
like
his
a fine cilantro. You understand?
That knife is sharp.
Razor's edge is what we are talking about.
It is nice and sharp. So he's fine. He doesn't want to go anywhere in that situation because he's not going to have a better situation than that as offensive coordinator. Now, maybe head coach, he can go ahead and get out there. He's not going to go back to the NFL. Because he's not going to have the job security. Look, guys, he's getting up there. If he wanted to jump and go do something else, his age kind of dictates that he's looking for something a little bit more stable. This is like a Will Muschamp type situation, okay? Which is they love it there. And this pay raise, if Todd didn't want to do it, you know what he would do with the pay raise? He would take it for this year, but he would tell Kirby, "Hey, bro, like this is like thanks for doing me a solid for bumping my pay up to go elsewhere." But I'm going elsewhere. That's not what this pay bump is. You see that in other programs where they do a guy a solid, pay him up so they can leverage it. That's not what this 2-year succession is, Daniel. That would be a one-time deal right at the end of the season. That's not what this is.
Second question for you, a bit more complicated, a bit more philosophical.
The robes need to come back out.
One day, Todd Monken may not be the offensive coordinator at the University of Georgia.
Okay.
We're already getting somewhere.
Third segment listeners.
We are already getting somewhere. Third segment listeners already know where the bucket is.
No.
Clint. They don't have to reach. If you're a third segment listener, you got that thing just locked under the like a dear friend, just secured.
You've painted eyeballs and a smiley face on it. Just
you've given it a name. Okay. It's a simple question, scale of 1 to 10.
Yes.
How irreplaceable is Todd Monken as the University of Georgia's offensive coordinator?
This is a really hard one to answer because I know we will have to replace him at one point. So I'm going to start by this is philosophical. You're absolutely right, Daniel. Okay.
Well, it's because the end of the podcast and we're out here. People love the banter. Loose. So we're just,
Lagavulin is just rolling.
Reach out. It doesn't even have to. Money doesn't even have to change hands.
You understand what I'm saying? Money don't have to change hands.
We don't need to do it that way.
But
there are other ways.
Because the relationship that him and Kirby have is much different. Because Kirby trusts him. Do you know how many people Kirby trusts in his life, Daniel?
It's probably Mary Beth and Todd Monken. I guess
those are the two. You just named the two, and list stops. Okay. So I think in that department is very irreplaceable. I think also Todd Monken buying into the system of what Georgia has done. This is not an Alabama situation where it just says, hey, let's go fly high, sky high, all over the place. And then our defense suffers radically for that. And after year of attrition, here's what Alabama has. Georgia ain't going to do that game. So I think and also there's a lot of young, exciting coaches at UGA, like a lot of them.
You sure?
Todd Monken just gets to be the old grandpa, that kind of steady Eddie, gives you wisdom, brings you over, talks to you. The rah-rah happens elsewhere. I don't know many offensive coordinators that want or are like that, Daniel. They're more rah-rah guys. They're more Lincoln Riley. They're more Cliff Kingsbury type deal. And that doesn't jive well at Georgia.
I think that's the part of Todd Monken that is the most irreplaceable is I think there's something that comes with that experience that Kirby trusts, and Todd Monken is very confident, and you get the sense that Todd Monken knows what he wants to do, and he's not interested in being told otherwise about what he wants to do. But he doesn't have the ego, and I think you talk about these young sort of offensive genius type guys, and we saw it even like when, not to go beat a literal dead horse, but you saw it with Dan Mullen. Like when Dan Mullen was at Florida, you see this ego come out of these people who are convinced that they are offensive genius. Lincoln Riley, another great example. Who just believe that they're so good and they're so brilliant in their schemes that they don't need to worry about complementary football. They don't need to worry about anything because their offense is going to dominate the other team to such a degree that it won't matter if the other team gets the ball back in a hurry or the defense gets tired or whatever, because we're scoring touchdowns on every possession and you can't stop. But then when that doesn't happen,
what happens?
You look like an idiot.
Oh, there it is.
And so you don't get that vibe from Todd Monken. That's the thing that I think he brings is the wisdom and the maturity to be able to say, yes, we're gonna air it out. Like, we're going to throw the ball. Georgia throws the ball more than Tennessee throws the ball this year. Georgia puts the ball in the air more than, and that's good because they have a quarterback who's capable. They have weapons at the skill positions who are more than capable of catching the ball. They have backs out of the backfield who can catch the ball. And we move the ball down the field to a incredibly efficient and incredibly productive numbers all year. But it's also been complementary in the way that it's done. We've hurried up when we've needed to hurry up. We've slowed down when we've needed to slow down. Todd Monken just seems to get the whole game plan, which is what makes me nervous about how good of a head coach he would be and why someone is going to come calling and give him that job, because Todd Monken gets it. He gets football, and if anybody ever does give him a chance to be a head coach, he's going to be a a heck of a head coach. But let's just hope that that's not for several years down the road.
This has been Locked On Bulldogs, your team every day. Come back tomorrow where Dan and I will talk more about this Kentucky game.
Ooh, you gonna lay them 22.5, Clint?
It's a lot of points, Daniel.
Yikes.
Your team every day. See you guys then.